Welcome to 13 Women Artists Children Should Know. Today we're just going to go ahead and try to make this lightning quick. 1 minute per artist is my rule now. Let's get this started with. Our first artist is Sofonisba Anguissola. Sofonisba Aniscola, and she's the painter of very wonderful portraits. In fact, this is her going ahead and drawing this little chess match, going ahead and saying that, alright, so here is Sophisba painting her three of her five sisters playing chess. Lucia is this one, apparently. Minerva on the right. Minerva, as in like the witch. And here is Lucy. Correction, Europa. And this is the maid. They're playing chess. And since they're playing chess, they're going to be all like, oh, checkmate. And he's like, whoops. And she's all like, you didn't see that coming, did you? And the maid's like, alright, this is too interesting. I have to look. And next up, of course, after this painting, there's Maria Silbilia Marian. What an overly necessary, complicated name. And she's basically a natural drawer. She likes drawing nature. In fact, this is a drawing of the butterflies that she's seen in her life when she went ahead and visited other places too. She even drew a little insect, which in my opinion is a bit creepy too. She drew a lot of lizards, and she basically went ahead and drew any wildlife too. Seashells, these lizards, these butterflies, and then she always gave a little scientific description towards each of them too, which is kind of interesting too. But then again, later in her life, she started having poor eyesight, and she did get malaria during her trip here, so she had to go back home, and she had to stop painting. Next up, we have Marie Cassatt. Marie Cassatt. She was born in 1845 in Pittsburgh of the USA, and she was gifted, she was famous and wealthy, and she was the American artist who chose mostly to paint women, mainly children, and mothers with their children. One of them being this one. Here is a mother and her child going ahead and trying to wash their feet. And then this happens too. Well, the thing is, this angle makes you feel like that you're looking at them in a mysterious way without them even knowing too. By the way, this is called La Toilette. You heard that right. It's French, and according to the English translation, it's apparently the child's bath, which doesn't make the least sense if you ask me. It only looks like you're secretly looking at them because of the angle that you're looking at them, a 45-degree angle. She also drew this. She's also very headstrong, and her father actually got the full blast of it because her father's like, you shall not be a painter. And she's like, I shall be a painter. And then she became a painter, and her father's still kind of disappointed. But, however, she did become one of the greatest female artists of all time. Later in her life, though, she actually went ahead and lost her perfect eyesight, and then she helped other women become better in drawing. Our next up, Elizabeth Armstrong Forbes, and her favorite paintings topic were children. This is called the Minuet. At least the painting's called the Minuet, which is actually the name of a very, very, very traditional dance that has been in until the 19th century, where you had to where the girls had to wear this dress and do some sort of little crazy dance. Well, they actually played the song called Minuet. And then later she even drew this little painting too about children. It's called School is Out, and it just went ahead and looks great, doesn't it? It just looks like the outside is tempting you to go ahead and come out. And the window, it feels great if it wasn't for the shades. In fact, all this light actually went ahead and changed the mood of the painting drastically, depending on where you were on the painting as well too. All these children want to go ahead outside too. And apparently this is literally what she went ahead, Elizabeth wanted to go ahead and convey in her paintings. Next up, we have Georgia O'Keeffe. Georgia O'Keeffe, she was actually born in a farm near Sun Prairie in Wisconsin, so she basically lived in the desert for a while too. Her mysterious pictures wanted to made people around the world more aware of the wonders of the world, which doesn't really make a lot of sense if you ask me. Here it's called Summer Days. I mean, here these pictures need to fit together. The flowers are from the desert, and they're not from the desert. They need water, and this is the skull of I think it's an antelope. With that, it's also seen in this little desert environment. All this is linked together because, well, all of them are kind of dead things too. Dead and barren, once full of life. Dead and barren, once full of life. Dead and barren, once full of life. And then she drew these flowers, which the colors actually made life worth living according to her. Alright, our next artist is Lyubov Popova. And why that name sounds Russian is because she herself is Russian. She's an artist of the Russian avant-garde, and she has overturned everything. And within a few years, which until then has been considered to be correct, beautiful, and good. She was born in a village near Moscow, and well, she died of scarlet fever at the age of 35. She has only had one son, and she had a lot of drawings to really talk about. She started drawing constructionism, and she mainly drew for the communists, where she went ahead and drew this picture for the cover of the magazine, and she even designed the clothes and costumes for stage performances too, which, if you ask me, is one of the greatest achievements of her own time. Next up, Tamara de Lempicka, this woman who's literally called, she invented herself, Tamara de Lempicka. And she herself actually got famous because of this. She went ahead and made herself wealthy through her art. And with this, she just went ahead and started making this cool, elegant style, which went ahead and made her rich. That was her only goal, to become rich. She herself never really had any children, apparently. With that. Next up, we talk about Frida Kahlo. Once again, we meet the woman we met last time. Frida Kahlo, Frida Kahlo, Frida Kahlo. And she's literally a diary of Mexican pictures. As mentioned from last time, she went ahead and drew lots of serious things with her pets because they went ahead and the pets kind of described the happy life of Frida, while Frida herself went ahead and showed her seriousness. In fact, her brows weren't really that sick. It just made her look like that. Also, in my opinion, that kind of make even my mom was convinced she was a boy until I told her she was a girl, which is kind of embarrassing to me, in my opinion. Next up, we have this woman, Louis Borgiosis, and she's a solitary figure between two worlds, apparently. She went ahead and made a lot of structural art too. She basically went ahead and was keen to try new things and has followed her own artistic path. This is being her own spider. She called it the spider, and this has been above James Esner's grave. That's apparently his name. And with that, you can go ahead and figure out anything as well. This has been above his grave because he liked spiders. His mother went ahead and made cloths from silk that felt like spiders too. Alright, next up we have this woman named Merit Oppenheim. Merit Oppenheim, why does that last name sound familiar? Maybe it's just because you've watched the movie Oppenheimer maybe too many times. But however, this is Oppenheim. So she went ahead and drew this little painting of a little monstrosity, the fur painting. And with the fur painting herself, she went ahead, and this is actually what made her famous. This looks so lifelike, doesn't it? It feels like a photo. However, this is the only one that she actually drew that made her famous. The rest she tried to draw, but then everyone's like, nah, we don't like it. Alright, our next artist of the day is Niki de Saint Phalle. Now, Niki de Saint Phalle was actually a person who went ahead and made all these kinds of artistic structure art, including this. They call this the nannies. In fact, the face itself is actually concave. It went ahead and looked inside. It's curved inside, not outside, unlike a real human, and unlike the body. And however, she mainly drew lots of things, and she mainly made all this kind of structural art for children too. This is actually supposed to be a playhouse for children, apparently. Here, the high priestess, the female figure, is the light blue body, and has a magician is a male, and has a glittering silver head. The wheel of fate, which clangs noisily as it turns in the palm, was actually designed by Jean Tinguely. So she actually went ahead and made these structures for playgrounds as children too. This one is supposed to be the fire god. The bird is supposed to represent the fire god. And with that, you can go ahead and rest assured, lots of things happen. This is her largest project in the Tarot Garden in Tuscany with its bright figures. You will actually find the biggest Nana of all, which for Nikki represented fulfillment of a dream. And she wanted to live inside one of her Nanas too, because for her they stood for the earth, mother, and security. And this is literally the biggest project that she's ever worked on. As you can see, this is why we can sing Sun. Alright, our 12th artist is called Bridget Riley, and she went ahead and drew these kinds of waves. And oh my goodness sake, it actually makes me dizzy to look at this right now. I'm not sure if you guys will too. If you stare at this hard enough, stare at it for at least like 5 seconds, please, then you'll probably start seeing it move. either because you might be blaming it's a TV screen. I need to see the real thing. Well, I'm looking at the real thing right now, and it looks very much 3D. Even in visual, I'm looking like downwards. Like I'm gonna try to look down like this. It looks like so 3D. I'm gonna skip this right now because it's making me dizzy. And our last artist of the day is Cindy Sherman. In fact, she pretty much, her artwork actually went ahead as like photos too. She creates stage photography, and she went ahead and put herself in costume and then took a photo of herself. And this she called art. In fact, I thought for a second this was actually a painting, but then I realized it's actually a photo of her in a costume, which is kind of ridiculous if you ask me. And this is called the Untitled Number 424, and she herself is actually called the Quick Change Artist for loads of reasons too. She takes delight in shocking people with grotesque ugliness by holding a mirror in front of them too, and this is literally what people seem to look like to other people too. A clown. An idiot. Even as a child, apparently, she loved to do all this kind of makeup and the wig stuff. And so with that, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you guys soon. And so until then, Sean out. Peace. Bye bye. Dun dun da dun 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 da dun 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 da dun 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 da dun 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 dun.